Welcome to part 6 of our architectural tutorial series. We continue with documentation. It's time to publish our drawings. So today I'm going to show you how to get all the drawings together into a nice little plot layout. I'm going to show you how to create title boxes, how to add schedules and other calculated values derived from your model, and how to push everything towards either a physical copy to print it or into a PDF document which you can send to your client. So let's get going. It's time now to publish the things that we have created so far. By publishing, I mean either printing as a physical copy or saving it as a PDF. Whichever you are going to choose, the basic concept is the same. Now, one thing we have to do here is, up until to this point, we have been working in a one-to-one scale, so at some point we have to think about scaling. This would be important at a later stage. What we are going to publish is a PDF with at least 4 pages. On page 1, we will have the floor plans on different phases. So we are going to show the changes on how the building would look like with all the walls being demolished and rebuilt. On page 2, we have the elevations. Page 3 will be about sections, and page 4 will be about lists. So the question is, how do we create all these pages? Now, the way it works is that you have to go to documentation and click on plot layout and choose preparing a plot layout. Now, what you do first is that you have to find the right paper settings. For me, an ISO A3 would be fine, large enough to contain all the information, so I'm just going to use this. And you have the width and height, but you don't have to mess with that, of course, because you are going to work with a basic value. Columns and rows, this basically tells you how many sheets you are going to have. So if you want to have 2 times 2 equals 4, so we are going to end up with 4 pages. You can name the plot layout. I'm going to name it 001. Let's try that. And we are going to put it into a landscape mode. You can toggle the modes like that. Use whichever is more convenient. For us now, a landscape would be better. And also we can define the margin, but we are not going to do that. And the plot stamp is something that we have to look at. Now, you can include the plot stamp or you can just ignore it, and you have a list of stamps you can choose from, and also you can go to the library and find the one which fits your purposes better, or you can create your own from scratch. Now we are going to use this one, the English number 2. I think this contains all the information I need, and when you're ready, just hit OK. And then the software thinks for a second, and then it creates for you 4 pages to which you can drop in your content. Now, just one word about the plot stamps. These are predefined, but if I click on it, you see that it's full of variables, which we can later fill up. And if you want to know how to create your own plot stamps, these are actually groups with variables. We have other content on that, how to create that, but that's not going to be discussed at the moment. Let's see how we can fill up these sheets with useful information. The sheets are now ready. Let's fill them with useful information, with drawings and other things. So, as I said before, page 1 would be about floor plans, the 2 instances, the 2 phases of the floor plan. Now, how do we get information into these sheets? Well, the easiest, most direct way is to find the element, the item, the content that you're looking for in the project navigator. In our case, it would be the ground floor. And grab onto it and drag, hold, and release. And when you release it over the plot layout, the software asks you if you want to scale it down. Now, this is important because up until to this point, we have worked in a 1-to-1 scale. So we now need to find another scale factor, which would be 1 to 100. And if I do that, I see that now there's the content, but there's all kinds of other stuff coming with it, which I might not need. Because I have already, also copy-pasted the schedules and other things that I don't need. Now, how can I amend that? Now, if I select the drawing that I have imported, let's do just that. I see that I have these blue lines which act as a window through which I see my original content, which is this thing. So that means that if I fine-tune the size of this window, let's call it view, then you can narrow down your focus, and things which you don't want to show on the plot layout would be missing from it. This doesn't mean that you are deleting original content. It just means that you don't want to show them. You just narrow down the focus. So the way it works is that you just have to click on the sides of this view and just offset things back. So we don't need this part, so let's just offset it back. And then Again, I click on it and I offset this part back as well. Alright, so let's make it like a narrower view, and that way I can hide the things that I don't want to see. Alright, this is nice. But what happens if you only want to show one portion of the drawing? Because what I did before, I just grabbed the whole thing, but the ground floor has much more than just the floor plan. So if you just want to show one part of the floor plan, you can grab the whole thing and then you fine tune it. Or you can just right away copy a part of the floor plan. Let's see how that works. I go back to the floor plan like so, and I'm going to say under documentation plot layout that I want to copy part to a plot layout by a rectangle. And when I have that activated, I can just select the items that I want to copy. So let's say this would be the part that I want to copy to the plot layout, nothing else. Once I have designated the size of this view, then I just have to click on a point, which is a reference insertion point. Then I go back to the floor plan and I go to plot layout, paste to plot layout in a 1:100 scale. And when I do, the software allows me to position the new part of the drawing anywhere I want. Now, it might happen that things don't quite line up, in which case, well, I don't really like that, so I want to align things to each other. If I select this drawing, I can say move the element from, and I'm just going to find this as a reference point, and then I can snap to the other original part, wait for these green lines to appear, and then I can just position it like so. Well, let's just move it a little bit further away, making sure that it's out of the way. Let's hit shift, and then you can just position it like so, and then it's much cleaner. Now, the advantage, the reason why I have these two drawings is because I want to show two instances of the same floor plan, two phases that is. One thing you need to know is that if you select any of the drawings, you have access to the properties, and there you can enable and disable the visibility of layers, and also you can toggle the phases. Because now at this point, both of the drawings show the same thing in the same phase, but this time I want the right drawing to show the demolition plan, which I can do by just clicking on the phase filter and say this is going to be a demolition plan, like so, hit OK, and now without ever modifying the original drawing, I can show the changes on the building using the same plot layout, the same drawings. Well, when I think about it, I think I need to move this a little bit further away because it's a bit confusing. It just hurts my eyes. Just give me a second to do it. Here you go. Much better this way. Another useful thing about plot layouts is that they track changes on your floor plan, of course. Let's illustrate it somehow. I have this ramp over here, which is, I think it's too strong. The lines are too strong and many things are going on top of each other. I want this ramp to be less visible. So I just go back to the original floor plan, select the ramp, and I change its color to something else, maybe this kind of grayish color. And if I do that, I see that now on the floor plan it's a much cleaner, a little bit dimmer visual style. But these changes are not automatically shown on the plot layout. If you want, however, to track the changes on your plot layout, you select the drawing that you want to refresh, go to the context menu and you say refresh this. Well, you can refresh all the layouts at this point, it's not really needed, but if you just want to refresh this, then after a second of thinking, then the software will actually show you the changes what you implemented on the floor plan. Let's proceed now with the elevation drawings, and then so here we have elevations, sections, and the lists. So let's proceed with the elevations. What I do is that I'm going to go to the project navigator over here, and the west elevation is the one which I want to see here. So I just grab onto the west elevation, grab release, and we'll say that it's on 1:100 scale. So when I do that, the software thinks for a second to sort of track the changes and see if there's anything what's changed in this drawing, and then I'm able to position it as well. Let's position it as such. And the next, what I want to put next to this drawing would be the southern elevation. Now, there's something what I need to amend over here, and that is namely the fact that there are no shadows on this one. I talked about briefly before why that. So sometimes when you're rebuilding the 3D, the shadows have to be regenerated manually, which we are going to do now. So let's activate this drawing and go back to, well, you don't have to do this, but this way we can see it better. And I'm going to click on this this setting over here, and I ask for the elevation shadows to be created. I'm going to hit OK, and the software in just a second is going to give me all the technical shadows that I need, and now this drawing is ready to be inserted to the layout. So again, activate the plot layout, and this was the south elevation, so I'm just going to drag and drop in a 1:100 scale. And at this point, well, I like to put things into the same sort of level. So again, I'm going to do the trick what I did before. I'm going to go with move from, and I'm going to try to find like a common ground for these two drawings, and that way things would be a bit, you know, tidier. So again, page 1 has the floor plans and page 2 has the elevations. Now it's time to put in some sections, and not only the section but also the call out that we have over here. So this is going to be like a multi-purpose page. So let's zoom in, and first add the section. We already know how to do that. Just grab onto it. By the way, whenever you select something here, you can see in the project navigator it's lighting up, so that way you can see what is it that you actually work with. So grab onto it, drag, release, and define the scale. It's going to be 1:100, and the drawing itself would be somewhere here, and I'm going to add the call out next to it. Now the call out represents a separate drawing, so it could be dragged and dropped just like anything else, but to be honest, I don't need everything from here. I only need this part. So again, I go to plot layout, and I go to copy part to plot layout by rectangle, and I'm going to select this part of the drawing, only this, nothing else, find a reference point, go back to the plot layout, and ask the part to be pasted in a, well, this should be larger than the rest, so it should be, I think, 1:20 scale. Maybe I think that would be useful. So let's put it here. Now, one thing that you could be doing at this point is to sort of like show where this part of the drawing comes from, and that you can do with the two-dimensional lines. And the plot layout is generally for collecting your drawing data. It's not for dimensioning, or generally not usually for drawing. But if you want to add additional symbols, you can do that, of course. Here, the only thing you have to keep an eye on, that this is already a scaled down version of the things that you created. So if you want to add a group, you would have to scale that down too. But having said that, let's go back to drafting and let's use a line. Now, the software remembered that the last thing I drew was a simple line with an arrowhead. So if I draw anything here, you see that it would be enormously huge because this is the original size. So let's delete that first. And before I draw anything, I need to change the style into a simple line. And what I want to say is that this would be like an extrusion of this part of the drawing, like so. So this way you can show that this part originally comes from this part of the drawing. And that would be it for the drawings. And now we are going to add the list as a fourth page. But the thing is that there are actually two problems. One is that this page is oriented as a landscape, and I would need it as a portrait because this list, what I want to add, this over here, would fit better on a portrait. The other problem is that I don't need this size. I need to have an A4 page instead of this one. So what I do, I select the plot layout and I simply delete it. Well, I need to delete the stamp as well. So I only have 3 pages now, and I need to add a 4th page, but it should be an upright portrait version of the plot layout, and it should be an A4 instead of an A3 sheet. So what I do, I go back to documentation, I go to plot layout, prepare plot layout. Now first let's change this to A4 ISO, and it should be a portrait, and I don't need a 2x2 grid of layouts, I only need one, so I need to have one single sheet. The stamp is fine, the margins are okay as well. Let's hit OK. And now here's the question. The software asks me, alright, do you want to create an entirely new page layout, or you want to add another page to this layout? The latter means that this would be, the new page would be added here. The former means that there would be a way different collection of sheets. So for now we are going to hit no, and that would add a page over here for me. It's a bit far away, so let's just select it and move it a bit closer to the others. And now it's time to copy paste the list onto my layout, which I can do either by dragging the whole thing and then cutting out the parts that I need, or again the well-known method is to just copy paste part of the plot layout. So I'm just going to copy this part over here like so, picking up the insertion point, going back to the layout. And well, you see how large this list is, so probably you don't want to paste it as it is. So you want to paste it in a at least 1 to 200 scale. So I'm just going to go to plot layout and paste to plot layout, and 1 to 200 would be the way to go. So let's put it somewhere here. So now I have all 4 pages, and that would include the floor plans, the elevations, the sections, and the lists. It's important to point out that every single drawing which is pasted onto the layouts, they have their own layer settings. If you select any of the drawings and you go to the properties, you see that you have access to layers here. But this is not the only place where the layers are designated. If you go to the original drawings, then you can set up layers there too. Why is that important? Now let's investigate that in the case of this south elevation. Let's just put this back into perspective. You have a layer manager over here. And one thing you need to know is that this layer manager is applicable to every single drawing. So this is not a general setting. You can hide and show things on one view and have a way different version of layers on the other view. Now, without spending too much time on this, the only thing you need to keep an eye on is the printability column. And in case you have anything blocked from printing, you might need to unblock it, because if you, in certain cases, when you edit something in the software might block out things from editing, and when things are not showing up on the plot layout, not showing up in printing, then this might be the place where you need to find it and enable it back again. So you need to see if any elements are blocked from printing. And also I like to do this for most views that I have, so just going through the sections and elevations, just to keep an eye on the layers, make sure that they are not wandering away, and make sure that they are all printed. Now, if everything checks out, now we are going and moving closer and closer to printing. Before we do, let's discuss the plot stamps, or the title boxes as they are sometimes called. Now, I talked about before that if you click on it, you see that they are full of variables, which means that yes, you can fill these up with text by yourself, of course, but you can also ask the software to fill these out for you. The question is, where does this information come from? Now, solution is very simple. If you go to File, BIM, and Project Parameters, then here you can add all kinds of information bits to your project, which will be stored on several levels. If you end up exporting this drawing or this model into an IFC file, then these data would be stored as an IFC BIM information, but also they would show up on the plot stamp if you fill out the relevant places. So the project name is, I'm not going to fill out all the things, but just to show you how to do it, I'm going to do it here. So the project name would be the Elata Nova project. That's the name of the project, and the version number should be 001. Also, I can add the name, the begin date, other things like address and things like that. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The point is that you can add additional fields to that list, and then you can just ask the software to list these kind of things. Of course, I'm going to add my name here as well. And the company should be ARCHLine. That's heavy work. All right, so let's hit OK. But even though I added this information bits, nothing happened. So how do I ask the software to actually show these information bits in the title boxes? Now, solution is simple. As always, you click on the element, you go to the context menu, and you go to edit texting group. And here you can actually ask the software to update the project parameters. Of course, you can fill this out here. So for example, you can add the date if you want, but you can ask to use the project parameters, which would bring in those information bits which I have just previously defined. So I defined the project name, the project number, and when I click update project parameters, these things are pulled in from the parameters. And if I hit OK, then these elements are filled out automatically. Rest you can fill out by hand, or you can just go back and add additional data fields. Now, you could do this in bulk as well, because now I only did it for one title box, but I have 3 others. So if I want to speed things up, I can just go to documentation, plot layout, and I can just ask all the title boxes to be filled out. And that way you can just ask all the layouts to be having this kind of information. And you only need to define the info once, and then the software would pull all this info in from all around the place. So if you want to do the two others, you just go update project parameters, and that just hit OK, and then the information bits would appear to all the pages. So again, let's not spend too much time filling this up, but this is the core concept. All right, let's get printing. So, well, actually, before I print, there's another thing I want to return to. I showed you before that if there's any change on your floor plan, you click on any of the drawings, the software will tell you that well, the drawing is out of date. You might want to update it, and when you do, after that, you can enter the properties of this drawing. And let's just think about this these layer settings for one more sec, because I showed you this before. And I told you that you always have to make sure that the layers are enabled before printing. There's a layer filter which would filter down the content to only those layers that you have used, and you see that rightfully all the layers are visible except for the drawings that you have imported. So I want to make sure 100% that the imported original DWG is not going to be printed. All right, let's do one more test, just like so. I'm clicking on this elevation, for example, this one, and I want to make sure that all the layers are enabled for this. So I'm just going to go to its properties, layers, and I see that all layers are available for printing. All right, so how do we print? Now, luckily, I have all the layouts together, and fortunately, I don't have to put things together by hand, because that's what the print queue is developed for. So if you go to File and you go to Print Queue, then the software tells you that, all right, tell me which set of layouts you want me to comply, and that would be here. So we know that there's a layout compilation with 4 sheets altogether. The software would allow you to grab this all into a print queue and print it out automatically. And by printing, of course, now I mean printing the PDF. That's what I'm going to do. So let's click on the green plus icon, and instead of clicking on the individual sheets, let's click on the container, the name. One thing to keep an eye on, I have sheet number 1, 2, 3, and 5. Now remember, that was a 4th one, but I deleted it, and then I opened a new one which got the automated name 5. So that's why you can see 4. You can see 4 items, but there's sheet number 3, and after that we have 5. But enough of that. Let's click on the layout collection that I want to bring in. Let's hit OK, and now the software tells you that, all right, based on your current settings, this is what you are going to see. You can fine-tune the path for this PDF. I think I'm fine with this path, and you can override the previously set up paper orientation and things like that also, but I'm not going to change that. Important thing here is the scale factor, because originally we used to work in 1:1, that's what we created things in, and then we scaled everything down to 1:100. But now if we want to print it, we have to keep it 1:1, which is actually the 1:100. If you were to scale this down again, 1:100, you would end up with a 1:10,000 scale, which would be too small to see. But enough of that, let's click apply, and if I do that, the software goes through all the layouts, and I see that all my pages are actually here. So I don't have to manually, let's just put them back on. I don't have to manually find the sheets and define where I want to print them, and I don't have to define the margins and whatnot. I just need to grab everything together and hit print. And when I do, the software thinks for a second, and it's going to push everything out into a PDF. The result will be here. So the default PDF viewer would open up on your computer, and then you can see all the pages that you have created. So here we have the floor plans, the elevations, the sections, and eventually the list. So let's just zoom in so I can see it better. So this way you can just toggle and see what you have created. So all the things what we have done so far is now pushed together into a very nice, convenient PDF file, which you can save to your hard drive and share it with your clients. Printing is, of course, not the only way to communicate your model and design with other designers. There's another method, and that is going by export. So there are many file formats in which ARCHLine is able to export its files. Let's just look at the few most important ones. If you want to export, you can export your drawing in many formats, including IFC, which we are going to see later on, DWG, PDF, OBJ. So there are many formats based on. So you choose the one which suits your purposes the best. Because in our case, in our example, we are going to make a 2D copy of this elevation drawing, and we are going to export this into a DWG drawing, which could be open in any most abundant CAD software. So what we do is that we take this drawing over here, we go to File, Export DWG, and then we define a path. This would be, for example, Elata South Elevation. And let's hit save. Now in this dialog you can define how you want to save this DWG. DWG is a very old file format. I mean, it's been around for a long time, so there are many releases. You need to define in which release you want to save it in, because this would define in which software they could be opened. So make sure you find the right one, and also the units should be defined here as well. So I have worked in millimeters, I'm going to keep it in millimeters. And should you have any 3D data on this DWG, you can show more options to see how to export those. But for now, I'm just going to hit OK. And the software thinks for a second, then exports this whole thing into the DWG, which you can open in a DWG viewer, which I have on my computer, this free version of DWG TrueView. And this would show you that if you have any kind of drawing data in ARCHLine, then you can just save it into a DWG or DXF, send it to any other receiving parties, and they would be able to open it in a CAD software. If you want to communicate your whole model, not just a couple of elevations or sections, in one file format, then the IFC is for you. The IFC is an abbreviation for Industry Foundation Classes, and this is a file format that all important BIM software can use and read and write, hopefully. So if you have a model like this one, then you are able to pack everything up, and by everything I mean the model information, really everything, and send it to another BIM software, which even if it's made by another manufacturer, they will be able to open it, and similarly ARCHLine is able to receive information from other BIM software products. Now, the area where we are going to work is the 3D, and there's something what I haven't told you about yet, but this is the perfect pretext to discuss that, and that is the level of geometry. So we already know the rebuilding with the 3D hammer, but if you go with this hammer over here with the settings, then you can decide how you want to build your model, because you might not need this many details. You might need just a simplified version of this drawing. So you can just go back to a lower level of 3D, and let's just rebuild the whole model. And in this case, certain things, for example, the layers will be simplified and the openings will be gone. Just another place where you can find the same settings is up here, where you had the face filters in 3D. Here 2D, here you have in 3D the level of geometry settings. So you can go from a very symbolic all the way to a very detailed view. So the reason why this is important is because based on these settings, you would generate the IFC. So if you don't want to send to your clients or to your fellow designers a model which is very detailed, you can simplify it before you send it. It's a non-destructive way of managing large amounts of data, especially if you have many layers and more than one buildings. Alright, so having said that, let's go about exporting this drawing. We do that by File, Export, and IFC. Now, you just find the path that you're looking for. Let's just name this Elata Nova BIM, for example, and let's hit save. And at this dialog, you can decide how and in which level of graphics, geometry, you want to export the drawing in. And you can toggle the visibility of certain elements, but I'm going to keep everything on because I want to see the whole thing. And you hit OK. The software thinks for a second, and later on it's going to give you like a report on what it has exported. And once that is done, we are going to see, here's the report I talked about, so if there was any issue, you would see it here. And then we can see in a free-to-access software, a freeware, to see how this this model that we created looks like in a different software. So let's take a look how the file looks like in BIM Vision, which is a free-to-access software. This is just a viewer program, so you're not able to edit the model any further, but you can look at it and you can access the information bits about it. So you can see that the model looks the same as we created in ARCHLine, and this is what your peers, your fellow designers would see if they open up the same project that you created in a different software product. So just to recap, if you are looking to communicate two-dimensional floor plans or sections, elevations, you can use the DWG drawing, which is the most widespread file format for this purpose. But if you want to communicate the whole thing with all the information bits attached to it, the BIM information I talked about before, then use the IFC file format. And actually we are done with documentation. Let's move on. This concludes part 6 of our webinar series, and documentation is over, but modeling is not. So we are going to step one back in part 7, and we are going to look at the broader aspects of our model. We are going to look at the environment. I will show you how to bring in external data from your colleagues to visualize the environment in neighboring buildings. We are going to look at conceptual models, shadow analysis. So again, there's a lot of modeling to be done. So make sure you join us in part 7.